Now in this video, we will be sharing with you what we think are some of the top tips to create the perfect thumbnail for YouTube. Let me share with you why thumbnails are super important. In fact, some would argue it is the most important aspect for getting people to click on your videos. Now, it doesn't matter how good your videos are, how good the content is within the video. If no one clicks on the video, then it's a case of, well, if a tree falls in a forest and no one hears it, did it really fall? I don't know if you understand that reference, but basically, that's how important it is. It's actually even more important than the title, because if you watch some of our previous videos, you will know that people read from the left to right. And guess what? That means thumbnails first, then only title. So very important.
So if you're thinking of having 1,000 subscribers for your business, then download our free guidebook. Link is down in the description below. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, what makes a good thumbnail, is that you got to have at least 3 things. One is a subject, text, and a background. So most of the time, a good thumbnails will have all these 3 things so that you can capture your audience attention. Now, if you're thinking, wait a minute, there are some thumbnails that doesn't have these 3 elements. In fact, they only have one of this, which is just a picture, and they could still get a lot of views. Now, the thing is that if you're thinking of those thumbnails are actually belong to creators that has over 100,000 subscribers, which means they no longer have to make very nice thumbnail, is because they have an audience size already. Whatever videos that they are publishing, even if they don't have a good thumbnail, they can still have 20,000 views, 30,000 views, and maybe more. But if you are starting out with having less than 1,000 subscribers, this is where you need to play by the rule. You need to create a good thumbnail that has subject, text, and a background. Think of it this way. It's like if you're a nobody, you have to, well, dress to impress. But if you're somebody already well-established, well-made, you could be wearing anything and it really doesn't matter because people recognize you. So because you're a small channel, you'll have to play by these rules. Out of the 3 things, I want to talk about subject first. Now, usually in a thumbnail, you gotta have a subject. I want to talk about how subject usually is your face or the subject you're talking about in the video. What you want to do is that you don't want to just take a picture of that subject and put it into your thumbnail. You want to remove its background so that it looks way much more clearer. So think about it. If we're using our face in our thumbnail, we're not just going to take a picture of ourselves and have the background where the picture is taken inserted into the thumbnail. We would have to remove the background so that it only shows our face and not the background where the picture is taken. So how you want to do that is that, well, if you're using an iPhone, there is a feature that allows you to remove the background, or you can just go to a free website like remove.bg, upload your picture, and voila, the background disappears. If some of you guys are familiar with Canva and you have the paid version, you can remove the background from there. At the end of the day, when they look at a thumbnail, your subject is going to be the one that captures their attention. And if you want to emphasize that subject even more, you can use an arrow, specifically a red arrow. That will really guide the direction of somebody's eye to look at it.
Moving on, these are another 3 things that you really need to take note of when it comes to making the perfect thumbnail. The first is the text. How many tags, what kind of text that you need to have. Number 2, whether you need facial expressions or not. And of course, number 3, where do you position them? Technically, if your content and if the words you use are already amazing, it doesn't matter as much. However, as a rule of thumb, what I usually like to do for my videos, you can see it here, is that my tags are typically on the left and my face, if there is any, or logos or any other non-text objects, are on the right. Why is that the case? Now, if you see, for most YouTube videos, when you look at it on your phone, you will notice that there is a rectangle at the bottom right that shows the length of the video, and that can serve as something to block whatever you're trying to put on the right of your thumbnail. But when you design the thumbnail, you don't have that in mind, because when you design it on Canva or wherever, it's just a design. But when it gets uploaded as a thumbnail on YouTube, then you would have to consider designing the thumbnail with consideration of that time, or rather the length of the video that they state at the bottom right. So therefore, it is much better to put the text on the left so that it doesn't clash with the minutes or hours being put at the bottom. The non-text objects can be on the right, because even if they were blocked a little bit, people watching the videos still can more or less get it. Now, adding to that, when it comes to the text, this is my personal preference. I always like my videos to have no more than 5 words. Now, why is that the case? Well, the thumbnail is quite a small surface this area, especially if you are viewing it on the phone. So if you're going to fill it up with a lot of words, most people won't be able to see it. And 5 is usually the sweet spot for me. Now, as far as the non-text objects, what are some of the principles, right, you can apply? I usually like to put facial expressions because it makes the thumbnail more human. But it doesn't mean that you must always have facial expressions. If you look at my investing channel, some of it has faces, most of it has faces, some of it have logos or, any other stuff.
I, on the other hand, is making content for kids and as well as entertainment. So my thumbnail is a little bit flashy.
Maybe a bit more color, a little bit more gradient,
a little bit more contrast to stand out.
Now guys, if you have a business and you are intending to go into the social media space and you want to know how you can monetize that business, we've got the perfect program for you. It's a mentorship program where we work with you one-on-one. So all the recommendations, all our discussions will be centered and tailor-made for your needs, your issues, your obstacles, and eventually your success. So if you're interested, head over to the comment section or the description to apply for the mentorship. Not everyone will get in, but go give it a go.
So adding to the text that MJ was talking about, because you're only using 5 words inside, you don't want to have the words repeated in your thumbnail and your title. So your title itself, you can write it as long as you want according to the character length and as well as putting in SEO keywords. But your thumbnail may not necessarily need to be a repeat of your title. So what that means is that you can use the text that is in the thumbnail as a chance to be slightly a little bit clickbaity. Now, I don't mean to say clickbaity in a bad way. All of the thumbnails and titles should be at least a little bit of clickbaity because we're playing by the social media rule, which is you want to get people to click onto your content. So instead of repeating the words, what you can do is that you can try to use the pain point of your audience and try to use that as clickbaity words in your thumbnail. So you can think about whether, if let's just say the pain point of your audience, is it time wasted or feeling frustrated about a certain thing? Use those pain points and put it inside so that when people see the thumbnail, they will be able to relate it emotionally. And that is where you will get them, because people want to watch something that they can feel. And those 5 words, those clickbaity pain point words, is how you're going to be able to get them to click on your video.
You want to ensure that you have consistency in your text, coloring, and overall design. Well, it's the same concept as why, let's say, McDonald's has the same logo, right? It makes you recognizable. People can look at the thumbnails and straight away know, this is a video from Vincent. This is a video from MJ, right? Straight away, people associate that with you. Case in point would be someone like Mr. Beast. You could look at his thumbnail at the corner of your eye, and if you watch him enough, you straight away know that's him. That doesn't also make your channel look messy, right? When people go to the video tab and they see different colors, different fonts, different weird structures, and it's just all over the place, it's not a good look. So typically, for my channel, it's very standard, right? 5 words, but then it's usually white text with sometimes green, sometimes red. So what I like to do is I would like to play around with at least 3 to 4 colors. That's it. And when I pick a red, make sure it's that kind of red. And then when I pick a green, I make sure it's that kind of green. And when I pick a white, it's that kind of white. And all my fonts are more or less the same.
Speaking of design, you don't have to rush to find your signature design that works for you. Most of the time, we just find what works for us as we go. So you might not know what is the perfect style for you, but eventually, as you keep on making your videos and your thumbnails, you will eventually find the little things that helps your conversion. And that is where you implement it to be part of your brand. Hey, if you enjoyed this video so far, I'm sure you have some thoughts that is brewing in your mind. Let us know in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe to this channel and this video, and let's move on. The next point that we're going to talk about how to make a thumbnail better is you gotta make sure everything looks big, everything looks legible and visible so that people can see it clearly. Now here's what I mean. It's very obvious that when we do our thumbnail, everything should look really nice and it should pop and we can see it really clearly. But the thing is that when you're new to making a thumbnail, or maybe you might have been doing design for quite some time, but when it comes to thumbnail, making everything big might not be natural to you. Now this is what I mean. You're probably doing a design design in front of a laptop or a desktop where the screen is big. And it will be very unnatural for you to just make the text or the subject or the things inside the thumbnail to be very big. So that's why you might have the tendency to shrink things down. And when you do that, you're actually making a mistake of not making your thumbnail stand out. This is because when you're designing with the big screen, you're probably designing it based on the size of it. But the reality of a thumbnail is that it's going to be shrink down to a very small rectangle where you need to compete with other videos. This is where if you're putting your subject, which is yourself, your facial expression, you might not need to show your whole body all the way to your belly button. It doesn't even need to show into your chest. You can zoom in really close to your face, and that's where it's easier for people to see your expression. When it comes to text as well, you don't want to make the text like really small and use cursive fonts. You want to choose fonts that are like bold and big, such as Arial or Impact or Montserrat. You know, basically, if you go through the font list, anything that looks big and not cursive, that is the kind of font that you want to go with. So make sure that when you design your thumbnail, make everything big and stand out. And make sure that when you have the design, try to zoom out to see whether are the thumbnail elements big enough.
YouTube's algorithm actually favors videos that have thumbnails that are higher resolution as well. So the only thing that is just so that you can make your thumbnail look nice, it's really that the YouTube algorithm actually pushes videos that are like that. And that's why if you look at Mr. Beast's YouTube channel, he has really high resolution thumbnail, and that's a reason for it.
But if you look at this creator, their thumbnails are not great and their thumbnails are not sharp. What do you think about it?
Of course, remember what makes a good video, what gets people to subscribe, watch, like, comment is a package. Good thumbnail, good title, and of course, ultimately good content when they watch the video. So you could get away with very poor thumbnails if the content is really good. One classic example, there's a bit of a meme or like a running joke going on in the YouTube community. Whenever it's a low resolution thumbnail, it's definitely a good video because it's usually at 1-2 minutes. Those sub 1 minute videos with like really crappy thumbnails, those definitely get like millions of views, a lot of them, right? And it's the same idea of the best restaurants in taste wise, usually not the 5-star restaurants. They are the 3.5, 4-star restaurants because they don't really care about appearance. But when you step into the restaurants and you eat them, even though it's not the most hygienic place, it still tastes amazing, right? So it's the same idea.
So remember, as a small creator, if you want to be blessed by the algorithm, someday we'll make a video where we'll talk about how you can be blessed by algorithm. But just remember, at the moment, hitting it big relies on luck. And luck means preparation meets opportunity.
Now guys, when all is said and done, what we have shared today are just general rules and general guidelines that have worked for us. At the end of the day, is it possible to have a thumbnail that has no facial expressions? Yes, it definitely can work. Is it possible to have a great thumbnail without any text? Yes, it's possible. You can see it right here, right? In fact, I would argue if you are good enough, you actually don't need text, right? To give you an example, let's say if you are trying to portray a scary or horrific thumbnail, instead of saying I'm scared or it's scary or whatever text you want to put, you can just put someone's facial expression that is in shock or in fear. And that shows, but it doesn't tell. So yes, play around with your thumbnails, right? The most important thing is test, to optimize, and to see what works. And again, if you watch our previous video, how do you know when your thumbnails is working? Among other things like, views and stuff like that, is actually your CTR, your click-through rate. If you can get a more than 4% click-through rate for your thumbnails without any text or without any facial expression, or even if it's just a black blank, go ahead, it works. And you know what? Some of our videos, our faces are on the left and the text is on the right. Why are we able to do that? Because we realize, the text doesn't really clash with the length of the video stated on the bottom right. I know I'm repeating myself many times, but test, and test.
Eventually in the future, you might find a style that works for you. You can actually update your old videos with a brand new thumbnail. And when you do that, your old videos will actually get recommended to some of your viewers. And then that's where you will have your video working for you once again. So if you guys have enjoyed this video so far and you guys have learned some things, or maybe you are struggling with some of the things when it comes to designing your own thumbnail for your business, comment down below and let us know what are your struggles. And if you enjoyed this video so far, you might be interested to check out other videos from us. See you next time.